Hi, welcome to Training Mug's Java coding series. So in the previous session, we just tried understanding how do you declare an array and then how do you instantiate an array. Nothing but how do you create an object of array, right? So in this video, we'll just try to put some hands on to understand how do you program with arrays. So let me open my STS and choose a workspace. Already created a workspace under H workspace. And let me go back. This is what the workspace I just want to create. I'm just creating a new workspace called JS11 arrays. So just select this folder for your workspace, and if you want to select this option, use this as a default and do not ask again. You can check this so that it won't ask you for a workspace again, but I'm not selecting this. Just click on launch, so it will open your STS. So once you open your STS, this is what the default page that you'll get. So you can create a Java project here. I'm creating a project name here. I'm just call this as JS11 arrays. So by default it chooses your JRE. So I have installed JS11 in my machine so that it will take Java S11 automatically. Or if you want to configure a different JRE, you can click on this configure JREs and you can add an install JDK JRE in this, and then you can choose that so that your project will be built based on that particular JDK JRE. So I'm just clicking on next, and just this was the default structure for your Java project. Just click on finish. So from Java 11 it'll ask you to create a module info. I'll talk about what is this modular approach in our other videos. So here I'm just going to create this as com.trainingmug.jse.arrays. Just click on create, and then by default it's going to create. I'm not going to write any code inside my module. I'll explain it in our separate videos. So but let me create a new package here. I'm just going to create a package. So I'm just going to create the same package name what I've given for the module, com.trainingmug.jse.arrays. So just click on finish, and here I'm just going to create a new Java class. I'm just going to give this as arrays basics. So I'm selecting this public static void main so that by default my main method will be given for that class. So I'm just going to increase the font for you. So now so we just tried understanding how do you basically create an array. So I'm just writing how do you declare an array. So as we understood, working with arrays involved in 4 different steps: declaring an array, instantiating an array, initializing arrays elements, and you can access or modify the elements by accessing the particular array elements, right? So we'll just try understanding what is array declaration, how you declare an array. So first and foremost, we need to say what kind of a data you're storing inside an array. So example, I'm storing an array of integers, then immediately you can create an array like this. So I'm just creating employee IDs, right? So there are different ways that Java can allow you to declare. Okay, so there are different syntaxes. So this is the advice or most recommended one according to the code standards given by Java and Google, and most of the companies will follow this coding standard. And you can also declare array by using different syntaxes. I can give space, and then I can give employee IDs 1. Okay, so this is legal one, and then I can also create employee IDs 1, and I can give this square brackets as a suffix 1. This is also a valid declaration in Java, so where you don't get any error. But these two are not recommended as part of the coding standard. So I'm just commenting these two by writing. Okay, I'll just do multi-line comment by using Ctrl+Shift/. Okay, so then I'm just going to write a comment here, not recommended as per the coding standards. Coding standards are very, very important. That was I was emphasizing on relation, because from the very beginning you need to understand how do you write a proper code by following certain standards which will be recommended in the industry. Now here just we declared only an array, right? So is there any array created yet? No, it's just a declaration, right? So no array will be created, just a reference for that an array got created. Just we declared an array. only reference of that array got created on stack because the local variable, no array is instantiated on heap. Suppose what happens if I want to access my employee IDs. So I'm going to get a compilation error here. Why? Because so there's a rule that local variable employees IDs may not have been initialized. So without initializing this, you cannot access since it's a local variable, right? So now the question comes, how do you instantiate this, right? So now I'm writing it, gives compilation error since it is not initialized, right? So now let us talk about instantiation, or nothing but initializing that particular variable. Now I'm going to create employee IDs is equal to, we'll create an array by using new keyword, new followed by the type of the data, example int, and followed by the size, right? Suppose I want to store 5 elements in this array, so I'll give the size as 5. And I'm going to tell you one more trick here. So if you're preparing for, especially for certification, you might get some questions given something like this. They might give some negative value here. Do you get a compilation error? No. So we don't get any compilation error. Why? Because syntactically you can pass any integer value. Since -5 is an integer value, we can pass. It is a legal declaration, but not it will give you certain exception when you run this program, because -5 you cannot allocate -5 variables in your data, right? So that's where you'll get the exception here whenever you trying to access that element, but it is still legal, so you don't get confused. No compilation error, only exception will come at the point. I'll just show you in the code, but how do you handle these exceptions we'll see in some other videos. So here what actually happens now, here an object or an array object will be created on heap with 5 integer elements. Since these arrays are created on heap, by default we know that all data which is stored on heap by default will be initialized with the default values. So whenever you try to access employee IDs, and then those array will be created 5 elements, and then where each element will be accessed with an index. The index will start from 0 to the n-1, where n is the size of the element, right? So now if I see that employee IDs, I can access it any one of the element by passing an index that is nothing but 0, 1, 2, 3 till 4, right? So since even though I did not initialize any values, I know that default values are going to be 0, which I've already explained in the video. So let me run this. So what you got here is 0, right? So you can access any one of the element 4, and then you can run this program. Okay, so you'll get 0. So on this program, basically you can right click and then select run as Java application, or you can also use a shortcut command Alt plus Shift plus X plus J. Okay, so always use a shortcut commands which increases your programming efficiency, right? So I'm just using this in order to run your code, which will get the output. So this will give you hands-on like how you create an array, and then how do you instantiate an array, how do you access an element, but we did not initialize them, right? So without initializing, only the default values are created, which is not recommended. So I want to initialize my arrays. So now how do I initialize my arrays? I'll initialize my arrays by using employee IDs of index 0, right? What value I want to initialize, I'll just initialize it with 4 1s or 5 1s. Then employee IDs of 1 is equal to all 2s. So like that, I'll create all the other values, so manually, right? Okay, so now here I'm just changing this index to 2, this index to 3, this index to 4. I'm changing these values to all 3s, all 4s, all 5s, right? So now whenever I run the same program, since I've initialized these values now, so now what is the value that I'll get is employee ID at 4 is value of all 5, so I'll get this value. So you can individually access any one of this element by using the index of that particular value to access it, right? So this will start with 0 to the n-1, where n is a size. So all arrays by default will follow or will support property that is called length. Okay, so length is a property which gives you the size of that particular array. So whenever I try to access this employee IDs, it should be accessed on the reference with a dot by default, if you can see here, I'll get a property create length, which basically returns you an integer value. So whenever you run this, you're going to get the length as 5 in this. So then how do you create more arrays? Like here I have just created only an array of integers, so you can create an array of bytes. Example byte, I'm just creating subject marks of the students, right? So now here you can also define that in a single line by using the same instantiation syntax. Now what is this instruction? So if I give 6 here, so here declaration is done and instantiation is done, which is done in a single line state, whatever, but still it is not recommended as per the coding standards. So whenever you create any array, so you always declare and instantiate it separately. So I'm just commenting this part too, will follow the certain coding standards for creating it. I'm just creating a byte array subject, and then I'll use subject marks. As I already told you that whenever you create a variable, for any variable, whether it could be array, object or whatever, you just give a proper variable name. So variable names must be very descriptive. Looking at that, then understand what kind of a data we are storing in that variable, right? So now I'm just going to instantiate it. Subject marks is equal to use new byte array. So now I'm going to give the size 6. What happens since an array of byte created on heap, again since it's an integer value, integer group, so by default the values are going to be zeros. So it's access any one of this variable saying that subject marks of 2, example, right? What is the values? 0 to 5, because 6 is a size, right? So whenever I run this Java program, you're going to get 0. Again, what do? We again initialize these subject marks by using subject marks of 0, right? Half is equal to some values. And why I choose byte array here, right? Why I did not choose array of integer? That's one question that many of the freshers will get. See, you always have to choose the type of the data what you're going to store. So subject marks, each and every marks are going to be 100. So where each one of the value, maximum value is 100. So byte is enough to store. If you use integer, and each and every variable 4 bytes of memory will be allocated, which is waste of memory. So always use the appropriate data type, which is also of the coding standard. Okay. So whenever you use this data. So now since I'm just using subject marks of 1, marks is equal to suppose 99. So like that, I'll just create all these marks. So whenever you access this variable again, you are going to get whatever the value that you have assigned. Example here, I'm just adding 69, and whenever I run this program, what do I get? I get 69 because this was the variable which is stored at subject marks at the index 2, right? So you can always create the array of all kind of primitives. Example, I'm just creating an array float price of share, right? Prices of share, something like that. So here I just can create prices of share is equal to new float of values, or how many that you want to create, like double, byte, character. You can create a number of different arrays which holds different kinds of primitives, right? So all these 3 steps, that whatever you have declaration, and this is called instantiation, okay, array instantiation, and this is called initializing the values, right? So I'm just initializing array values, right? And this is what individually I'm just accessing it. So these 3 steps we also can write together using onto single line statement. So when you're working on array declaration, okay, in single lines, so this I can do it directly. Example, I want to create an array of vowels, okay, so I'm just creating vowels is directly. I can declare an array by using this syntax where an array will be created, okay. I'm not using an char of size, but rather I want to create an array, I want to instantiate an array, and then I also want to assign the value. In this case, I can directly assign an array of characters, something like this: a index e I o u. So now here what actually happens? So this declaration is quite similar to the one what we have created here. So and and it will be declared, array will be instantiated with a size of 5 here, since I've added 5 character elements, and then and will be from 0 to 4, where each one of these elements accessed by a particular index. So let us try printing the length of these. So ovals dot length, and we also try to access any one of the element of this array of characters. So I'm accessing it ovals of 2. So when I run this program, so as you can see that I got the length as 5 and the character which is there at the index 2, I got right I. So 0, 1, 2. So it is going to give you that element. So this is also a valid declaration, and if you know what value then storing it, how many number of elements that you want, you can directly declare an array in a single line statement. This is also a valid declaration according to the course standard, right? So this is a way that you basically create, declare and instantiate an array by assigning the elements if I want. But it's not obvious like you access the values individually by using indexes. There'll be some time you each manipulate the whole array by accessing all elements, right? Now in this, how do you access all elements, all array elements? Now what I need to do, each and every element, if I want to access, I have to start with an index 0 to the n minus 1, nothing but the length minus 1, and then I need to iterate through this entire array by increment simple index by 1, right? So for accessing this, we can use a normal for loop, right? So how do you declare it? Normal for loop. Okay, so now here I'm using an integer index is equal to 1 index element, then okay, now the array is nothing but ovals dot length, right? So now index ovals plus. So this is what a simple array normal for loop. So how do I access my elements? Now I'm accessing my saying that ovals of index, right? So how this for loop will be executed? First index will be not with, then this condition will check because length is 5, 1 less than 5 is true, then it will try to access, okay, I need to start it with 0 not with 1, so because it will start accessing the elements from here, not from here. So whenever you attend any interview questions, okay, make sure that the index always starts with 0, okay, in order to answer your questions. From where the index starts, from there the elements we can access. Now ovals of 0 now will give you a, like that this loop will come out till the condition fails. When the index value become 5 less than 5 condition fails, so it won't access the 5th element, so the condition loop will come out. So let me save this and then run this. So if you can see that I got the output as AEIOU, right? So I got this. So this is what the way like how you access all elements of an array. This is the way how you access an individual element. Here, so from Java 5, we can also use Foreach loop to access all elements for an array, right? So now here unnecessarily we are using an additional integer variable, or you can use byte chart, whatever, state up the variable type just because it's all 0. Because the scope is less, I have used integer for more readability. So, but here we are using an additional variable for accessing this. Since array contains a for type of data, we can directly access an element which is stored at a particular index by using a Foreach loop. Foreach loop helps you access the element directly without using any index. So there is an internal implementation for Foreach. So by default it takes care about the index part. So without worrying about indexing, you can directly access an element. Suppose I want to print all these elements of this array by using Foreach loop. Okay, I'm just printing a separator here. Okay, so just printing using Foreach loop. All right. So now here I'm just going to value print this. So how do you write a Foreach loop? So for each loop, you always have to mention what kind of a data that you have instead of using an index. Since it's an array of character, now I can declare a character value here. Example vowel is this, right? Here we use a colon. Okay, so colon by the array. Okay, for name, right? Then I'll explain you what actually is this. I just simply print vowel. Okay. So if you can look at this, this is a very shorter version to access the complete all elements. If you can see for in vowels, I'm not mentioning any index. So here I'm saying that for each character vowel, because vowels contains character. So we're going to each character which is there in this array, take it from the 0 to n-1. In every iteration, the 0 value will be stored in a local variable called vowel, and then this vowel value will be printed. In the next iteration, vowels of 1 will be assigned to vowel. So I don't need to worry about indexing part. So for every iteration, whatever the array that you have inside your vowels array, so you're going to get that element by default by using Java. So when you run this program also, you're going to get the same output of by using your Foreach loop. So this is a way how do you create, declare, instantiate an array, accessing the array elements both by using for loop, normal for loop, or by using Foreach loop. With the previous knowledge in this video, try to answer this small quiz. Here is a question number 1. Identify the output of the following code. So given integer array employee id is equal new int of -5 and system.out.println employee IDs of 3. And here are the options. Pause the screen for a minute and answer your question in the comment section below. Here is question number 2. Which of the following statement is true based on the below declaration? Given integer array sum of employees, salaries of employees is equal to new int of 5. And here are the options. And question number 3. What is the output of the following code? Given integer of 5 employee IDs, system.out.println employee IDs of 2. So here are the options. So question number 4. Identify the correct syntax for instantiating an array. So double salaries employees, salary of employees. So here are the options. Question number 5. Identify the current syntax for a single array, a single line array declaration, and here are the options. And question number 6. Identify the current syntax to get the length of an array, and given character array vowels is equal to new char of 5, and here are the options. And question number 7. Identify the current syntax for each. How do you access the elements by using for each? Given character array vowels is equal to AEIOU, and here are the options. So answer all these questions in the comment section below, and if you need any explanation or any other questions, please post them in the comment section. I'll just answer them as soon as possible.